To the staff at Mercy General, Lily was a liability, a silent, trembling nurse they mocked for 3 months because she refused to look doctors in the eye. They mistook her shaking hands for weakness, never suspecting those same hands had once held the lives of Tier 1 operators together in the darkest valleys of Afghanistan. They laughed at the mouse, completely unaware she was a ghost legend among Navy SEALs. The laughter died the moment a Black Hawk helicopter descended on the parking lot, carrying the US, military who had come to demand their combat legend back. The fluorescent lights of St. Jude's Medical Center in Seattle hummed with that familiar, headache-inducing frequency that only night shift workers truly understood. It was 2 a.m., the witching hour, where the caffeine wears off and the patience of the staff wears thin. Lily Bennett stood at the nurse's station, meticulously organizing patient charts. She was 32, though the premature grey streaks in her messy bun and the deep, etched lines around her eyes made her look older. She moved with a stiff, deliberate slowness, keeping her head down, her shoulders hunched forward, as if she were perpetually bracing for an impact that never came. "Check out the ghost," whispered Jessica, the head charge nurse, leaning against the counter with a smirk. She gestured with her chin toward Lily. "I swear, I dropped a bedpan 5 feet from her yesterday, and she flinched like a grenade went off. How did HR clear her? She's useless." Dr. Caleb Sterling, the arrogant second-year resident who walked the halls like he owned the building, laughed while signing a prescription. "She's a diversity hire or a charity case, Jess. Has to be. I asked her for a 16-gauge IV during the trauma intake last night, and she just stared at the tray for 5 seconds before moving." 5 seconds. In my OR, 5 seconds is a lifetime. Lily heard them. She always heard them. Her hearing had been tuned in environments where the snap of a twig could mean an ambush. But she said nothing. She simply tightened her grip on the clipboard, her knuckles turning white. She wasn't just quiet. She was aggressively submissive. She took the worst shifts without complaint. She cleaned up vomitus that the orderlies ignored. She let Dr. Sterling berate her for errors she didn't make. She had transferred here from a VA hospital in Ohio with a redacted file that the hospital administrator, Mr. Henderson, had only glanced at before hiring her. To everyone else, Lily Bennett was a washed-up, anxious burnout who probably couldn't hack it in a real ER. "Bennett!" Sterling's voice cracked through the hallway like a whip. Lily didn't jump, but she froze. She turned slowly. "Yes, doctor. Room 402. The post-op appendectomy. His BP is spiking. I told you to push labetalol 20 minutes ago. Why is the chart empty?" Sterling was standing over her, using his height to intimidate. I checked his vitals, doctor," Lily said, her voice raspy, barely a whisper. "His heart rate is bradycardic. If I pushed labetalol, it could have bottomed him out. I was waiting for you to—" "You were waiting?" Sterling slammed his hand on the counter. The loud bang made 2 other nurses jump. Lily didn't blink, but her pupil dilated. "You don't wait to think, Bennett. You do what I order. You are a nurse. I am the doctor. If I say push the meds, you push the meds. Do I need to report you for insubordination again?" "No, sir," Lily said, lowering her eyes to his scuffed loafers. "I'll do it." She walked away, feeling the heat of their stares burning into her back. "Pathetic," Jessica muttered as Lily vanished into the medication room. "She's going to kill someone one day." Lily leaned against the cool tile wall of the med room, her breathing shallow. She closed her eyes. For a split second, the smell of antiseptic vanished, replaced by the smell of burning jet fuel and copper blood. She saw the face of a young man, half his jaw missing, gripping her hand in the back of a pavehawk. "Stay with me, Doc. Stay with me." She shook her head violently, snapping the rubber band on her wrist, a grounding technique her therapist had taught her. She wasn't Doc anymore. She was just Nurse Bennett, and she needed this job. She needed the quiet. She needed the anonymity. But the quiet was about to be broken. 2 weeks later, the facade began to crack. It was a chaotic Tuesday afternoon. A massive pile-up on I-5 had flooded the ER. St. Jude's was at capacity. Every bay was full. Doctors were shouting orders, and the floor was slick with saline and blood. Lily was assigned to Triage Bay 3, assisting Dr. Sterling with a code yellow, a middle-aged construction worker named Mike, who had been pulled from a crushed sedan. He was conscious, talking, but complaining of chest pain. "It's just bruising from the seat belt," Sterling announced dismissively, shining a penlight into Mike's eyes. "Get him a chest x-ray when the machine opens up, give him some Tylenol, and move him to the hallway. We need this bed for the criticals." "Doc, it hurts to breathe," Mike wheezed, clutching his left side. "You broke a rib, Mike. It hurts. That's how it works," Sterling snapped, turning to leave. "Bennett, move him." Lily moved to the bedside to unlock the wheels, but she paused. She looked at Mike. She looked at the way his jugular vein was slightly distended, pulsing against the skin of his neck. She watched his breathing. It wasn't just shallow. It was asymmetrical. "Stop," Lily said. Sterling spun around, sweat dripping from his brow. "Excuse me?" "Don't move him," Lily said. Her voice was different. The rasp was gone. It was flat, cold and commanding. "He's not stable." "I am the attending here, Bennett." I cleared him. "Move the damn bed." "Look at his JVD," Lily said, pointing to the patient's neck. "Look at the tracheal deviation starting. It's slight, but it's there. And listen to his speech pattern. He's air-hungry. This isn't a broken rib. It's a tension pneumothorax, and it's evolving fast. If you move him to the hallway, he codes in 5 minutes. He dies in 7. The entire bay went silent. Jessica, who was stocking gauze nearby, froze. Dr. Sterling looked at Lily as if the hospital mouse had just spoken in tongues. "You are a nurse," Sterling hissed, stepping into her personal space. "You do not diagnose. You do not speak. You—" Beep, beep. Beep, the monitor screamed. Mike's eyes rolled back into his head. His blood pressure plummeted instantly to 60/40ths. "He's crashing!" Jessica screamed. Sterling panicked. The arrogance drained from his face, replaced by the terrified incompetence of a resident who had made the wrong call. Get the crash cart! Tube him! Get anesthesia down here!" "No time," Lily said. She didn't wait for permission. She didn't tremble. In one fluid motion, Lily reached into her pocket. She didn't have a scalpel. She pulled out a thick 14-gauge angiocath needle. She ripped Mike's gown open. "Bennett, what the hell are you doing?" Sterling shouted, reaching for her arm. Lily caught Sterling's wrist mid-air. Her grip was iron. She didn't even look at him. Her eyes were locked on the patient's second intercostal space. She squeezed Sterling's wrist so hard the doctor yelped and dropped to one knee. "Step back," she ordered. It wasn't a request. It was a field order. She palpated the chest wall, once, twice, thump. Without hesitation, she drove the needle into Mike's chest. Hiss! The sound of trapped air escaping the chest cavity was audible over the chaos of the ER. It sounded like a tire deflating. Mike gasped, a massive, life-affirming intake of breath. The monitor immediately stabilized. The heart rate settled. The blood pressure climbed. Lily taped the needle in place, checked the pupils, and then finally let go of the breath she was holding. She turned to find the entire trauma team staring at her. Sterling was clutching his wrist, his face red with humiliation and shock. "Needle decompression," Lily said quietly, reverting instantly to her submissive posture, her shoulders slumping. "Standard protocol for that kind of thing. Sorry, doctor. I panicked." "You panicked?" Sterling whispered, standing up slowly. "You just performed an advanced surgical procedure without a license. You assaulted a doctor. He looked at the patient, who was now pink and breathing comfortably. He couldn't deny she had saved the man's life. But his ego was bruised far worse than his wrist. "Get out," Sterling said, his voice trembling with rage. "Get out of my ER. You're done, Bennett. I'm going to the board. You'll never work in medicine again." "Done," Lily nodded. staring at the floor. "Yes, doctor." She walked out of the ER, past the stunned staff. She went to the locker room, sat on the bench, and began to untie her shoes. She was fired. It was over. She would have to move again, find another small town, disappear again. She reached for her bag, and her hand brushed against the old, worn dog tags she kept in the inner pocket. "Lieutenant Commander S. Mitchell, DevGru Support. Call sign, Valkyrie." She pushed them deep into the bag. "Lily Bennett," she told herself. "My name is Lily Bennett." But outside, the low, thumping rhythm of rotors began to vibrate the windows of the hospital. It wasn't the usual medevac chopper. The sound was heavier, deeper, a mechanical growl that Lily knew better than the sound of her own heartbeat. She froze. She looked up at the high window in the locker room. "No," she whispered. "Not here. Please, not here." The sound grew louder, shaking the dust from the ceiling tiles. The noise was deafening. It wasn't just a sound. It was a physical pressure wave that rattled the instruments in the operating rooms on the 5th floor. In the emergency room, chaos reigned. Patients were screaming, clutching their ears. The automatic sliding doors at the ambulance bay blew open and stuck there, jammed by the sheer force of the wind. Outside, in the physician's parking lot, specifically crushing Dr. Sterling's reserved spot sign, a massive shadow descended from the sky. It was an MH-60M Black Hawk, but not the standard military issue. This machine was matte black, devoid of reflective surfaces, with no identifying white stars or unit numbers painted on the fuselage. It was a ghost bird, an asset of the Joint Special Operations Command, JSOC. Dr. Sterling, still fuming from the incident with Lily, stormed towards the ambulance bay doors, followed closely by Mr. Henderson, the hospital administrator, and Paul, the lone, overweight security guard. "This is insane!" Sterling screamed over the roar of the rotors. "They're landing in the staff lot. That's a violation of FAA regulations. I'm going to have their licenses. Paul, get their badge numbers." Paul, clutching his hat, looked at Sterling like he was insane. "Doctor, that's a military chopper. I don't care who they are. They're damaging my BMW." The helicopter touched down, the landing gear groaning as it compressed under the weight. The rotors didn't spin down. They kept turning at high idle, kicking up a storm of grit, candy wrappers, and loose gravel that pelted Sterling's face. The side door of the Black Hawk slid open with a metallic clack. 4 men jumped out. They didn't look like the National Guard soldiers the hospital staff saw during flood relief. These men were bearded, their faces smeared with grease and dirt. They wore multicam trousers and T-shirts stretched tight over armor plates. Their helmets were high-cut, adorned with strobes, battery packs, and quad-lens panoramic night vision goggles flipped up like insect eyes. And they were armed, heavily armed. Short-barreled HK 416 rifles with suppressors were slung across their chests. They moved with a predatory, fluid grace, weapons at the low ready, scanning the perimeter not like visitors, but like they were securing a landing zone in hostile territory. "Hey!" Sterling marched forward, his white coat flapping violently in the rotor wash. He held up a hand. "You cannot land here. This is a private medical facility. You are trespassing." The lead operator, a towering man with a thick red beard and a scar running through his left eyebrow, didn't even slow down. He simply walked through Sterling as if the doctor were a ghost. His shoulder checked Sterling hard enough to send the doctor stumbling back into a row of shopping carts. The operator ignored him and marched straight for the automatic doors. He reached up to his radio headset. "Havoc to base. We are on deck. Securing the asset now." Mr. Henderson, the administrator, found his courage. He stepped in front of the sliding doors, blocking the entrance. "Now see here. I am the administrator of this hospital. You cannot bring weapons in here. Who is in charge?" The lead operator stopped. He looked down at Henderson. His eyes were icy blue and bloodshot. He looked like he hadn't slept in 3 days. On his plate carrier, a patch read simply, "Breaker." "Move," Breaker said. His voice was gravel, low and dangerous. "I will call the police," Henderson squeaked. Breaker stepped closer, looming over the small man. "Sir, we are operating under Title 50 authority sanctioned by the National Security Council. If you do not move, my team will breach these doors, and you will be detained for interfering with a federal operation. Now, move." Henderson scrambled aside. The 4 operators stormed into the ER lobby. The waiting room fell silent. A crying baby stopped crying. A man with a broken arm forgot his pain. The presence of these men sucked the oxygen out of the room. They brought the smell of ozone, aviation fuel, and old sweat into the sterile environment. Sterling ran in after them, red-faced and panting. "Security, Paul, stop them! They're looking for drugs. That has to be it." Breaker stopped in the center of the triage area. He didn't look at the patients. He didn't look at the doctors. He scanned the nurse's station. "Where is she?" Breaker barked. Jessica, the charge nurse, was trembling behind the counter. "Who?" "The nurse," Breaker said, his hand resting near his sidearm, not threateningly, but habitually. "New hire, quiet. Scars on her hands. Where is Valkyrie?" Valkyrie?" Jessica stammered. "We don't have anyone named Valkyrie. We have a Lily. Lily Bennett." Breaker looked at his team. "Clear the back. Find her." "You're looking for Bennett?" Sterling laughed, a hysterical, high-pitched sound. "The mouse, the incompetent one. I just fired her. She's in the locker room packing her trash. You guys are here to arrest her, right? Did she kill someone at her last hospital? I knew it. I knew she was a fraud." Breaker turned slowly to face Sterling. The other 3 operators stopped, their hands tightening on their rifles. The air in the room grew heavy. "You fired her?" Breaker asked softly. "Damn right I did." Sterling puffed out his chest. "She assaulted me. She performed an unauthorized procedure. She's unstable." Breaker walked up to Sterling until they were nose to nose. The operator smelled of gunpowder. "If you fired her," Breaker whispered, "then you just compromised the most valuable medical asset the United States Navy possesses. And if she's left the building, Doctor, I'm going to hold you personally responsible for the death of the man in that chopper." Sterling blinked. "What?" "Check the locker room," Breaker shouted to his team. "Go!" Lily had her shoes tied. Her bag was slung over her shoulder. She was walking towards the back exit of the locker room, intending to slip out the fire escape and vanish into the alleyway. She heard the commotion outside, the shouting, the heavy boots on the linoleum. She knew that cadence. She knew the sound of those boots. "Don't turn around," she told herself. "Just keep walking. You're Lily Bennett. You're a nobody." "Valkyrie?" The voice echoed off the metal lockers. It was a voice she hadn't heard in 18 months. A voice she had tried to drown out with therapy and medication. Lily froze. Her hand hovered over the push bar of the exit door. "Don't make me chase you, Lily," the voice said. It was softer now, pleading. Lily slowly turned around. Standing in the doorway of the locker room was Commander Jack Breaker Hayes. He looked older than she remembered, more grey in the beard, darker circles under the eyes. But he was still the mountain of a man who had carried her out of the Zagros Mountains when she took shrapnel to the leg. "I'm not her anymore, Jack," Lily said, her voice shaking. "I'm retired. I'm out. I signed the papers." "There is no out for people like us, Lily," Jack said, stepping into the room. He left his rifle with his team in the hall. He approached her with open hands. "You know that." "I can't do it," Lily whispered, tears welling in her eyes. "I can't lose another one. I can't have that blood on me again. I'm just a nurse now. I hand out Tylenol. I get yelled at by residents. It's peaceful." "Peaceful," Jack scoffed gently. "I saw you in the hall. You look like a caged animal. You're dying here, Lily. Slowly. We both know it." "Why are you here, Jack?" Lily asked, hardening her expression. "You didn't land a bird in a civilian hospital parking lot just to say hi." Jack's face fell. The tough warrior mask slipped, revealing a terrified friend. "It's Tex." Lily felt the blood drain from her face. Tex? We were on a training op up near the border. Live fire. Something went wrong with the breach. A ricochet. Or a malfunction. I don't know. Jack swallowed hard. He took a hit, Lily. Neck. Just above the clavicle. It clipped the artery. We have a field dressing on it, but he's bleeding out. We couldn't make it to the base. This was the closest level 1 trauma center. So bring him to the ER, Lily shouted. Sterling is an idiot, but the trauma team here is capable. They have surgeons. They can't touch him, Jack said grimly. What? Why? Because the round that hit him? Jack hesitated. It's experimental ordnance. It's a prototype, fragmenting round. It's lodged against the spine. If a civilian surgeon tries to pull it out the way they learned in med school, it'll detonate, or it'll shred the spinal cord. They don't know the ballistics, Lily. You do. You helped design the protocol for field extraction of UXO, unexploded ordnance, in bodies. You're the only one who has ever done it and kept the patient alive. Lily leaned against the locker, breathing hard. Jack, I haven't held a scalpel in a year. My hands, they shake. Jack reached out and took her hands. He held them up. They were trembling slightly. They shake because you're holding back, Jack said intensely. They shake because you're a racehorse pulling a milk cart. Look at me. She looked up. Tex is dying. He has maybe 10